Hi everyone, welcome back. This episode, after looking at the video and inspecting more of the what was causing the problem, I noticed something here that there is. I'll try to see if I can have you guys take a better. See if y'all can see a little bit better. Anyways, there's right here. I'm gonna need a flashlight. Hold on, let me come back. All right, I'm back. So let me show you where I'm having this issue. I don't know if that light helps. Actually, it doesn't help that much. It's not very good flashlight. All right, let me put some batteries in the flashlight. Hold on. All right, I'm back. I'm just gonna. There, I finally got the flashlight to go. There, that's a lot brighter. You can kind of see that now. Good. So I've had some issues with this 7.5-inch barrel with Radical Firearms, and I finally figured out what was causing all the shavings after looking at the video, the previous video, and then taking a closer look right here. And let's see if I can do my best into showing you. So basically, you see right here these two feeding ramps right here, and right here. Well, right about here, there's this mar, or this area where it's protruding, and I think that's what's causing all the shavings to go around in here. If you can see that little shine right about right here, and there's also another one right here as well. See, that just a little metal part that's just getting in the way of that feeding ramp. See right here, it just goes in. Right here, there's a little, and it's marring the feeding ramp. And there's some other areas right here where I could see that there was some marring going on. And I'm not sure what that issue is, but that's the problem. So that was the issue, and I'll also put it together. And I was wondering why there was all this shavings in here, and I can only conclude that the shavings are from the rounds. As they go in here and they're being fed, a little piece of it is being shaved off as it goes in here, and after you do 600 rounds, they build up around here, because my 10.5-inch doesn't have that issue. And I thought it might be a manufacturing, they're milling it and everything, but no. What happened is this is kind of, there's a little piece right here that is just marred, preventing the round to go through. And I'll put in a round to show you, and I was wondering why there was markings on the round after I ejected, and I think that might be the reason. So let me cut in and cut out here so you can kind of see it. Hold on. All right, I'm coming back in. I just need to get the parts here. So here's the lower. Here's a 10-round mag, and then here's the charging handle, as well as the bulk carrier. So and there's a lot of scratching going on here, but anyways, I don't think the charging handle is that big of a deal. So I'm going to put this together, and I'm going to show you what I think has been going on, because what I think has been happening is, as it feeds in into here, as it goes onto the loading area and it feeds in, it's scratching this round and probably a little bit of the casing as well, and that's what's leaving the shavings inside this chamber and right in front of the barrel. And so when it goes in, it's also slowing as it goes in. It's scraping it and slowing it down. That's why when it goes in, it literally just stops right here because it's getting some resistance, and it's on both sides of those feeding ramps, so that's why it was doing that every time. So I'm going to try to show you what I'm talking about, because here's some rounds, right? Here's some rounds. There's no markings on them. All right, there's no markings on them. So I turn it. So let's put this together real quick and see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to put one round in it. I'm going to put the safety on, but of course I'm going to have to load it live just to test it out. Okay, actually I should get two, because there's marring on the left and the right feeding ramps, and we'll just take a look at this here. And okay, so I'm going to put two, and let's see what kind of marks it leaves. So let me see here. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just charge it, so you all see that it goes in. So there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and charge. It's cleaned out. It should go in no problem, but it's going to shave a little piece off of that round. So let's see what happens, shall we? Okay, it went in really great. Of course it would, because I cleaned it. It's clean, it's there. But now let me pull that round out and see what happens. So what was that? Okay. You see that right there? You see, that was on probably the left side, and you can see that little scratch. So, see that little scratch right there? You can see that shine, right? And then let's do the other. Well, the other side's already in there as well. Okay. So one left, one right, and you can see this one. This one's probably the right side, because the right side has a lot more marring at that feeding ramp. See that? Can you see that? See right there? You could see that. And so you do 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,000 rounds, and what happens is those shavings, and I can actually see the shavings here. Let's see if I can take this out. And I was wondering, why are there shavings in my chamber? That ain't right. And so we got a defective product. Oh. No, okay. I had to pull back. Anyways. So, you know, that ain't right. This is basically a defective product. And so, let's have a look here, see if I could see any shavings. I can see, Okay, let's see if I could show you here. Well, where I could see a little bit of shaving right here at in the barrel or in the chamber, and then I also see a little bit of shaving I also see a little bit of shaving right here on that area where it's protruding, like it's been marred, and I can see a little bit of shaving right here as well. And of course it's not a lot, but the problem is, and this is what I've been having a problem with, is that you do, I've been getting the you know, this from Academy 300 round Remington Freedom buckets, and you do about 100 rounds in there, it adds up, it builds up, and then you do 600 rounds, because sometimes I don't clean this. It's such a I've had no issues cleaning with not cleaning this. Matter of fact, my 10.5 inch I haven't even cleaned yet, and it runs great. With this, you know, it builds up, it adds up, and then it builds up in the chamber to the point where I'm having that problem where it won't even go in. First of all, the bullet pushing up and being scratched up on that surface. See, I don't know if you can see that. Slows down. Okay, it slows that momentum pushing it in. And I was always wondering why it would stop right when it would just about feed into the chamber, and then I mean it wouldn't. It would just stop right here, and it wouldn't turn to lock and seat the round. And you can tell here. I'm looking at the. Let me see here. The two bottom parts. Right here, and I would say right here, and so the bulk carrier is slightly damaged too, because it's rounded here, which I figured it would be, but it's I don't know if you see that, but there's a more than, and you can see right here, see it's being scratched off here, and where else would it be scratched off? It would, I guess a little bit right here, you see it's scratched off, and that's what's causing this thing not to completely turn when it goes in there. So therefore I have a defective product here, and so what I'm going to do today, which I'm glad I didn't go yesterday after I came from the shooting range, because I didn't really know what the problem was. I thought, I mean, I was pulling my hair thinking it was the charging handle, because look how scratched up the charging handle is, which it might be an issue too, because or it just could be just rubbing, which is fine. I don't think that's an issue, but it's, you know, I just compared it to my 10.5, and it's just getting a lot of, it's just being scratched up, where my 10.5, the charging handle is not that scratched up. You know, it's just, you can see that. You can see how scratched up it is. Let me turn off this light. You can see how scratched up it is. But I don't think the charging handle was an issue after looking at it. The bolt carrier is really not an issue, but it's probably damaging the bolt. Will it still work? Yeah, it's been working and has worked, but you know, still, it wasn't the magazine per se, because I don't see anything how it could affect it. So it is where it's being chambered, the feeding ramp. So I would have to say this right now, as it stands, is a defective product, because I would shoot about maybe 100 rounds, and with some of the carbon buildup, and if you put oil in it, the oil really gets it gummed up, plus the shavings in there, and then it builds right on that feeding ramp and right behind it. And so when this bolt carrier goes in and the bolt goes into the chamber, it won't go all the way. It gets stopped, and that's why when it does get stuck, I have a really hard time pulling that charging handle. I was just yanking it really hard. I was like, is this normal? I mean, this is really strange. And what it was doing is it was getting gunked up and everything. And you know, I love the guys at Radical Firearms. I mean, they're really close to me. I'm not trying to talk bad, but you know, when I get this from the factory, supposedly from the factory, and this is what you get. I mean, this ain't good, because I've had it. You know, it. So when it goes in, I could almost hear that. I could almost hear it scratch, and it is scratching. But what worse is that when you get the rounds, and you can see the scratching here, that slows it down. Then you got the gum up, then you got the shavings that prevent it, and what you got is you got something that just will not seat. And what it's trying to do as it's going, it's jamming right here, and it's not going, you know, it's jamming. Let me see, how can I say? It's jamming right about here and not going all the way where it should be locked in. And you know, for the firing pin back here to hit. See? And so it wasn't turning all the way, and because it wasn't turning, I'm sorry, you can't even see that. There we go. And because it wasn't turning all the way and locking in, the firing pin wasn't being engaged. It was being hit, because, man, last thing you want to hear when you need to use this, you know, last thing you want to hear, and I'm pretty sure that's the last thing you want to hear. I'm pretty sure that's the last thing. I mean, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want to hear this sound at all. Where you know, I don't have it loaded, obviously, but loaded in the chamber, I don't want to hear this. Oh, sorry. I don't want to hear that. I don't think anybody wants to hear that. When they're ready to use and fire this and pull the trigger, that's the last thing. I mean, you never ever want to hear that. That is that is bad. Now you gotta, and then on top of that, I mean, I was just pulling it real hard, and it would lock. It would jam in the chamber. The bolt would lock and jam in the chamber to the point where I had to, you know, bang it out. And you know, that kind of gives away, you know, that gives a lot of time for somebody to like notice that you got a gun in your hand and that you were gonna shoot them, right? So this is a defective product, at least the upper. The lower is a lower, but this upper is, I would say right now as it stands, it is defective. It is it's no good. And I'm gonna go back to Radical Firearms because they're only about half an hour away from me. I'm gonna show them what I'm talking about. I'm gonna take these 2 rounds and I'm gonna show them the scratches here. I'll show you one at a time. Where's this one? This one's on. There's actually 2. There's one slightly right here. I don't know if you see that. There you go. and then there's one on here. So there's like two on each side of that feeding ramp. If you can see the scratches here. And you know what? I'm just gonna bring. Let me see. I'm gonna make sure, because let me see here. I'm gonna make sure on both of these there's no. Okay, there's nothing, no scratch on this one. Put that right there next to the magazine, and then I don't see any scratches on this one. No scratches. And I'll just let's do 3. Now, this one has a scratches because I've probably been testing it out with this one. Look how many scratches there are. Let me see here. If you all can see that. So this is one I've used probably to test it. So look, there's just scratch, 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 and those scratches, they cause shavings to go into the chamber. So I'm not going to use that. Let's be fair, right? Okay, this is one that's really in good condition. So I'm going to go ahead and just load this so I can show it to them when I get there, or if they'll let me show it to them. I don't know if they'll let me do it or not, but I'll just bring 3 rounds. I'm not going to go out there and shoot them, all right? I just want to show them what I'm talking about. This is kind of the only way they have to do it. But you see 3 rounds in here that don't have any marring or scratches on the rounds themselves. And so, but I'm going to show them this. I'm going to show them these 2, and just to give them an idea what I'm talking about. And I'm just going to explain them what happened, you know, and let them and show this to them, and we'll see what they say. I don't think I need to bring the lower. Oh, I'm keeping this. This is my registered AR. This is the gun right here. The upper is what I have the problem with. So that's the problem. This upper is defective. So I don't know. There's this new symbol right here in which they are putting on. I don't know if they're outsourcing or using someone else. But again, in my previous video, I did mention that maybe the quality control is kind of, you know, not there now. I've only bought 2 ARs from them. This is my second one, and this is, you know, they're like 50% now. They're not 100%. They're you know, 1 for 2. You know, so let's see how they handle the customer service side, and I'll just kind of report back on that. So, anyways, let me cut out, and I'll cut back in, and let's see what happened. All right. All right, everyone. I'm cutting back in, and here is the building for Radical Firearms that you see right up there, that little symbol. And so I'll go in. I got it right here. I got some evidence, and I'm just gonna make my case. Let's see if I can just walk out or have to wait. I'll let you all know, but I won't take the camera in there because I do respect their privacy. But when I come out, I'll explain what happened, and I'm sure they'll take care of me. I'm pretty sure, but let's find out. All right, let me cut out. All right, well, there's Radical Firearms, and I'm just gonna drive around the ground if you ever was wondering where it is in Texas. And that's like the front office with the showroom up there as I'm driving. And so they took a look at it. If you want to see their little place, looks like they're in all these buildings. They got a lot of employees here, I guess. So anyways, so there it is. I'll tell you more about it when I get home. So let me get out. They took care of me. They took care of me real good. Well, I'll tell you more about it. Let me cut out. Alright, everyone, come back in. And so this is what happened. I went there, I made my case, and I showed them all that I showed you, and they looked at it and said, yeah, that's, you know, there's something going on there. And I told them, you know, when they first test fired it, I mean, it will shoot. It will shoot despite all that. Hold on. All right, come back in here. And so, you know, I showed them the 2 rounds that showed the shaving. And you know, when it's clean and lubed, it'll shoot first couple rounds. That's not a problem. It's when you get to 50 rounds, 100 rounds. And if you think about 50 rounds, that's just two 30-round mags. By the time you get to that point, you know, the shavings and the carbon buildup and maybe some oil will get into that chamber area, and then it will prevent the bolt from seeding into the barrel. And so, you know, I told him that. He said, yeah, hold on. 10 minutes later, basically what they did is they got me a new barrel. So they said it's just easier to get a whole new barrel. So hopefully the gas tube won't be an issue. Hopefully these will not back out. So let's go to the range again. Now, so they did take care of me. They didn't charge me. I didn't have to wait too long. And so let's take this apart and show you what it looks like now. And I got you out here in a different location just to get the better lighting. And they test fired the 3 rounds that I did have in here, plus 3 brass rounds as well. So, and of course, I know it would shoot despite this thing having that defect. But now, if you could see in there, there is nothing there obstructing it. It looks like there's something starting right here though already. I don't know what it is, but this becomes a consistent problem. Anyway, they shot 3 rounds, and I'm already seeing maybe something right about here where it's coming back out. Anyways, there's nothing here immediately that I can see that oh, there's something right about here that's about starting. That's where the other one was, right about right here, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, I'm going to pay close attention to this because that's the issue that I was having. But right now they gave me a new barrel, and let's see how it goes. So they shot 3. I won't know until I go up to the range again and see if that fixes the problem. But they got me a new barrel, and so I think that's gonna work here. So hopefully that was the issue. Let's see if you can get it. There you go. Really close to you. A little too close. So you can see there's no interference right here where the ramp is. So I think that was the issue, in my opinion, because there's nothing else that I can see where I could tell the difference between my other AR upper and this one, other than that being in there. So let's see if that is the case. So I'm going to go ahead and load up one of these, and I'm just going to make sure none of these are scratched in any way. Okay, so I'll just go through it real quick with y'all. well, let's just trust me on this that they're not scratched. I'll look at them before I put them in. Okay, this one's all right. This one's and you know these little shavings. You think it's not a big deal, but you know it's one thing to have carbon buildup because those are really fine and they're not going to intrude on any of the mechanical functions. But tiny metal shavings, yeah, they'll screw you up good. It'll prevent the round from seeding into it right here. It'll prevent it from seeding in. It'll prevent this from pushing through into the chamber and into the barrel. You know, if you really think what a gun really is, and there's a reason why they call it a machine gun. It's that, a machine. It's no different than your engine. If you really want to think about it in that way, this one has a little tiny scratch. I think. Okay. So, if you think about this, a gun is nothing more than an engine. There's a combustion. There's a piston combustion, being the bullet, the gunpowder, the piston, rod, piston and rod, and then the actual chamber. The only difference is that it spits out, you know, those little bullets. So let me see here. That's 10. So let's. Oh, I gotta put this back together. So I'm gonna put this. Go ahead and put this back together, and see if it mars the rounds in any way. It should not, but you never know. So I went into Radical Firearms and I told them what happened, and I told them I only went around twice. It happened the first time I went to went to the range twice. It happened the first time it happened when I went to the range, and it happened the second time when I went to the range. And so it's not something, you know, yes, it'll shoot 1 round, 2 rounds, whatever, but like I said, you don't want to be in a situation where you hear, you know, you never want to hear that. Never. Of course, that's me. But in any case, let's open this up. Let's open up so y'all can see that. And it's on safety. And yes, I'm gonna put live rounds in here. How else are you gonna test this out? So let's have a look. If you can see that, okay. Okay, so there's no scratch, but there's a little marring from, but actually just, I wouldn't say it's a scratch, it's a little bit of marring from this getting onto the feed ramp and going in. So there is a little, let me see here. So there is a little shaving, but it's not that bad compared to this right here. Right there. See that? See where it shines right there? Where you're gonna get actual shavings off of it. Like it's gonna cause, you know, a little bit of, like an engine. If you have you know, metal shavings in your engine, it's going to screw up that engine. Let me see, where's the other one? And see, like this one. This was the really bad one right here. So if you could just imagine, see that? There you go. You see that a little bit better. And so it's actually cutting into that bullet and causing shavings. So that's why when I looked at this, I was like, man, there's shavings in here. They must be milling really poorly out there at Radical. But it wasn't that. It was actually shavings from the bullet. So that's one. Let's just keep on going with it. Let's take a look at each and every one of them. Yeah, there's marring on it, but compared to what it was before, not that bad. And let's just keep on going with it. Yeah, the marring is from the feed ramp and not from anything protruding on the feed ramp. Of course, there's going to be some marring on it. This one's a little bit more scratched up, but that's all right. This one is scratching. This one's scratching as well, but it's loading. Let's see if there's any more scratch up on this. Nothing that's deep. If there is marring, it's kind of shallow. It's very shallow. A little bit deeper right here. But most of the marring on it is from the actual feed ramp and nothing protruding from the feed ramp. That's okay. That's it. That's it. All right. So a little bit of marring, but it's actually from feeding into the ramp and not from anything protruding from the feed ramp. So let's take a look at it, see what it looked like. Let's look at the feed ramp now. Look at the bolt. At least they did seat and it popped out, which it did last time too. But okay, I did clean this. So, and then now let's take the actual look at this. So there is a little bit of shaving in there, but I'm going to anticipate that that's going to just work its way out, because this is, after all, a new barrel. But as far as I can see, there's nothing protruding on the feed ramp that's going to cause issues with feeding. Yeah. So I won't know until I put in a couple more, few hundred rounds in here, but okay. Yeah, there's nothing in here that's going to prevent it. There's some right about here, but it's really small. But let's see how bad that gets. This is kind of where it's I don't know if it's a bolt or what it is, but right about here, right about here is where the last one was being marred to the point where it started protruding out and being something around here, just it was getting in the way of the feed ramp. The other one was right about right here on this side, right here. But there's nothing here. Good. And not too bad here. Okay. So there you go. They gave me a new barrel. You can see it's really clean. And that's all they did is change the barrel to it. And so there you go. Thank you, Radical Firearms. You took good care of me. I'm glad that they're literally, I Google mapped it. They're literally 16 minutes from where I live. So I'm fortunate enough to be here locally, where I can just drive up there and say, hey, I think your upper is defective, and I'll tell you why, and you know, can you take care of it? And they did in 10 minutes. This is going to be unfortunate if this is happening more often from people who basically mail ordered this. And you know, I bought it. I think I made the purchase in January, and it's March 31st, almost April 1st, April Fool's Day. So if you bought anything from Radical Firearms from January to April, and you're experiencing some of the same issues that I'm experiencing, take a look at where the chamber is, especially if you bought one of the smaller barrels here. Take a look at the chamber right here and the barrel, and look at the feed ramps and see if there's anything right around here where it locks in. See if there's anything that's protruding in the way of these marks, of these grooves right here in the feeding ramp, that would hinder feeding the rounds, or even hinder the bolt itself from going in. And so it may not be the pressure of the gas. It may not be if you're having feeding issues, maybe even cycling issues, or even seating issues into the round, seating into the bullets. If you have any of those experiences, that take a look into your barrel and look into your chamber and see if there's anything protruding out, whether it was through the bolt pounding into it and pulling back from the pressure, or anything like that. So hopefully this helped you all. I'm glad Radical Firearms did take care of me. But again, people who basically ordered this online and then waited about a month, 2 months to get their purchase, and then go to the range a couple times, and after a while it seems to be malfunctioning, and then you have to mail it back and then wait for it to be mailed back to you. It could be discouraging. That's one of the reasons why I buy here locally. Like I said, they're 16 minutes away. In the video I showed you where they are, and I just walked in. They took care of me, and I walked out. I didn't spend no more than maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes waiting. And they shot 3 rounds with the steel ammo, and they shot 3 rounds of the brass casing ammo, and it fired. Of course, I would expect it to fire. It fired with the last upper, with the issue with the barrel in here, but I won't know until this is finally resolved, until I go to the range. So maybe I'll do that shortly. Alright everyone, I'm back at the range here, and I got the just the 7.5 inch here, and just a 30 round and a 10 round, and a bucket of bullets here. Just 2 Let's see how it goes with the red dot. Let's see if that feeder ramp issues let me cut in and cut out. Alright everyone, what I did is I used 30 round on the right side, 10 round on the left side of the target, and let's see how it worked out. And it's all at 15 yards. Alright. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So still pulling to the right. That's what I'm doing when I restand on this for some reason, and I'm not going to really count, but I think this is the lowest there. Other than that, all these other ones mostly pulling to the right, but I guess that's just how I shoot when I pull the trigger. You just got to keep that in mind. So far, I've looked inside, and there's no issues with feeding, reloading, but that's just the first 40 rounds. I'm going to shoot some more and let's see how I go. Alright, I finished my rounds here. Again, left side at 10, I use the same paper. The right side, I use 30 with the new paper. Let's see how things go. Again, the 7.5 inch, I had no misfeed problems, no locking problems. Hopefully that barrel issue will solve the problem here, but let's have a look. So I nicked the little paper a little bit low, but still pulling on the right side, but I guess that's just natural. Same thing where you see the non-blue, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have one right here as well. So anyways, let's keep shooting here, mainly to test the 7.5 inch barrel and see if it has any more misfeeds or lockups or anything, and let's see how it goes. Alright everyone, welcome back. I'm cutting in and out of the range. So I did have issues. I did have feeding issues again, and I'm not sure what it is, but again it was stopping right about here, wouldn't go all the way, and then I noticed that this happens when it gets hot. When it's cold like this, it'll shoot the first magazine and maybe the second magazine. When you look at it, it doesn't look like anything really wrong with it, but after about 70 rounds it started doing this on the first, even on a 10 round magazine. I loaded 10, and on the 10, and then I had 10 brass. Of course I use steel for myself, but I loaded 10, and then on the first, second, sometimes even the third, on the 30 round, now this is the magazine that I got with the 7.5 inch. So on the 30 round magazine, if I had it loaded, but I don't. On the first 5 rounds, it would literally, when I released it, it would come in here and then stop right about here, where I had to push my forward assist to jam it in there and get it going. And it did that after 70 rounds. So what I did was basically I tested it cold, 30 rounds on this, 10 rounds on this, and then I reloaded this one more time, and 70 rounds, boom, no problem. I put this down again, reloaded these, and then that's when I was having the feeding problem. So first feeding problem was with this one. When I put it in, it wouldn't feed all the way through. It would stop just like what it was doing before. It would just stop right about here. And so I was like, strange. But once I got the first one, once I used the forward assist to push it in, and I kind of pulled it out again, and saw it was holding the round. So even though if I let go, it wouldn't turn. You know, the bolt would not turn and lock in there. So I had to use the forward assist to push it in there. And then after that, shooting it, it would cycle through pretty decently. But I also noticed that the rounds would not come out like it normally would. It would just pop out. It wouldn't ping off of this per se. It would ping very lightly and then bounce out. And so I think something was going on with the bolt. After a while, it started to get very, I don't know if it's the tolerance in these things, but it started getting hard to pull when it was getting hot, or when it was hot, even though this should work just fine hot. So anyways, I let it cool down, started again, and noticed that I could only put in about 7 rounds in here, because the first 3 rounds would literally just stop right about here, right as the bolt was going into the chamber where it locks, and it would stop right about there until I went to 7 rounds, and then even with 7 rounds, it wouldn't go all the way. I could still see a little bit exposed, where I had to use the forward assist to jam it in there. And then when I went up to about 25, it was still jamming. I had to I put in 25 rounds in here, thinking maybe the pressure of the spring was slowing down the bolt from the bottom. You know, we're right here. I thought it was slowing down. The rounds were rubbing off that and slowing down the bolt carrier from going all the way in. But only after like maybe about 17 rounds. If I loaded up to 17, it would go in. It would still be rough. Up to 17 rounds, it would just barely go in, and then I had to finish off with the forward assist. And then about 15 rounds, I could easily just do that. But the point is that you shouldn't have to put in 15 rounds in a 30-round mag to make this thing work. And so I finished off 300 rounds. If I could, and I had to do it in a way where I put only 15 rounds in here, 7 rounds in here, with a little help of the forward assist on the first round. But after it gets in, and then you cycle through, it went through all the time. So I knew there's got to be something at this point wrong with the bolt, or the bolt carrier group, because that's kind of where the problems were all starting. And it's right around. It's even harder for me to pull that. Okay, that's why. And what it does is this part right here turns as it goes into the chamber and locks into place, and that allows the pin to strike the round. kind of really rough right about there. And then, you know, I didn't have my 10 around. I had my 10.5, but I didn't fire it because I was just trying to get the 7.5 inch in there. And then, you know, I came home and I compared it. This is way easier than this. It takes a little effort to pull this out, and then it's a little effort to get this pulled out, and then kind of that last minute pushed in like that. They'll do it, but it just seems harder because on this one it's just so much easier compared to this, which it's a little bit harder. And so what I did was compare the 10.5 and I'm hoping this might be the final issue. Let me put this one right here, and let's take this one out. And the thing I noticed is that this charging handle gets really scratched up quite a bit, and I'm not sure what it is. This upper might be a tighter tolerance, and because you get a lot of scratching on this and a lot of rubbing on this particular upper. And I could say that my first issue so my first issue, if you look over here, too bright, there we go. So on this one you see that the feeding ramp here, it looks good. There's no marring, there's nothing sticking out. So that was a contributing factor, that there was something right about here and something right about here, which there is just a little bit. But not that bad. So feeding is much better, but now I have another issue altogether, which is kind of a little bit disturbing. But anyways, this is fixed. So I got the barrel replaced in the 7.5 inch, and there's a little metal piece here that was really preventing it from going thin. It's starting to build up a little bit more here, but it's not there. Anyways, well, I called and they said lifetime warranty on this thing. So anyways, this ain't too bad. So that wasn't an issue. There's not that much metal shavings in here anymore, not that I can see. So that probably saved it was able to cycle through without any more problems here, but I'm still getting problems here at this area. So the barrel got replaced. I thought that might have been the issue, and no, it was not, because I'm still getting feeding issues, especially now. Instead of sometimes every now and then, it's only the first maybe 3 rounds on this, and then at least the first 10 rounds on this, which that's not how it should work. So anyways, so after looking at all of that, I decided to look at the bolt carrier. and specifically the bolt, because it seems, and the thing is, I cleaned this bolt off of my 10.5, the 7.5. So I cleaned it. I took it apart and I cleaned it, and so I'm not expecting any issues with this, but it seems really sticky. This turn right here, and I'll try to compare it to this one, which it comes from my 10.5, and this is my 10.5. A lot smoother, a lot smoother. But this one, not so smooth. It's really sticky, really rough, really sticky, especially when it comes back like this. Yeah, just really sticky. And I think what's happening is, and you can see there's a lot of scratching on this, on the bolt itself. It's just getting roughed up. I know what these two bottom are for, from the bolt catching right here, and probably the rounds picking up. But in any case, it's really hard to push down. I mean, it's just really, and I could tell because it barely says. I don't know if you can see that. You can't quite see it, but it says MP high right here. Let's see if I flash a little light on it. Can you see that? Kinda. MPI. Let's see if I just rub my finger over it and maybe see it a little bit better. See a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. MPI. And that's what it says on this particular bolt. So I'm not sure if that's the manufacturer. You can kind of see it, MPI right there. MPI. So I know this is the one that came from the 7.5 inch. So I took it apart. And let's go ahead and take it apart here. So this is the bolt from the 7.5 inch. Let's just take it apart now. And I kind of already know what it is because I took it apart and put it back together to see if it would work out any better, but it kind of doesn't. The pin comes out. And then the bolt should just, well, you gotta turn this thing here. And then slide it out. So I compared all these parts, and they look pretty darn same. But let's take a look here. So should examine here a little bit. But anyways, let's take, now this one came from the 10.5, and let's compare this one. They're supposed to be the same. They're just your standard little piece here. I don't want to lose any of this. Oh, gotta take the pin out, sorry. Take the firing pin out, that would help. And then you're able to turn this. There we go. So I'm going to try to compare the pieces here and see how they turn out. So so let's compare. I know what it is already, but let's just go ahead and compare these different parts and pieces here. The pins, like this stuff, same, doesn't matter. The firing pin, same. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Although this is dirtier than this one. For, well, I did kind of clean it up a little bit. And then this piece right here, which is right here, same. Although when I look at it, look how it rubs right against here. But there's nothing here really to. Yeah, look how much it rubs. It should rub, but it seems to rub a lot more. I'm not sure what's the reason for it, for rubbing a lot more. It seems to be a little marred here as well. I can't feel anything, but I think it's overall it's okay. It just seems to be rubbing quite a bit on this. So anyways, so not a big deal, but when I get to the bolt is very different, because if you can see, you see that little area right here around, it's smooth, it's polished all the way around, because when it turns, that's what it's turning it. You know, that's what's rubbing against the bolt carrier, this part right here where it's turning. And that's why this is way smooth. When I compare it to this bolt, you can see how dirty it is right here. That's where it's not touching. And then as you see here, see it's really dirty right there, and then it's kind of polished right here, then dirty again. It's very different than this, which is polished all the way around, and see that? And that's the difference that I see, or that I could see. And so, and then this is striking up against it right here. I'm not sure if this is set in right. I always think there's something to this. It's not either ejecting or something's going on with this. Right about here where it's not, I think this is causing a problem right here. And if you look here, you know, you can kind of see it's flat. Here you see it kind of come out just a little bit, and I'm not sure if that's normal. Just something doesn't seem right at the bolt right here. I think this may be the issue, because it's just right when it gets there, just not turning. And so that's what I think it is. I think it's this bolt is something about it. It's just not, because it's when I turn it, it's not that smooth compared to this, which is really smooth, and when it turns, it just so this is what I think is the other culprit in causing this problem. Let's see if I can put it in real quick here. And yeah, see when I put it back in, it just spins real easy. Still metal, but it compared to this, which I'll put back, grinding. You can see where that piece is right there. That okay. You can kind of see. You can see that shiny piece, the piece that is this part right here where it's come out, where it's really shiny. You can see that part sticking out really bad, and that's what's rubbing when it turns. See, and just doesn't spin. So I'm not sure if this is causing. You can see right here, it's causing this to cause a lot of friction in turning. So when I'll try to put everything back in here. Everything about this bolt carrier is just rough. Go. Okay. So I think that little piece right out there, this little piece, the end of that little piece right here, it's just rubbing against inside the bulk carrier, and that's what's really slowing it down when it goes in here. So when it goes in here, and I got a full magazine, and it's pushing up against down here, and then it's got to take enough energy to take the bolt out and push it into the feeding ramp. So I got the feeding ramp kind of cleared out, so it goes in, but it's still right when it goes right about here, it stops, and it's because of that little area right here at the back end inside the bolt where the bolt carrier is. It's sticking out and rubbing. For whatever reason, it's doing that and just locking it up right here, where I have to use my forward assist to push it, to force it in, and then it's blowing back outside, which is when it cycles through and there's enough force to push it back in, that's fine. But just from this charging point right here, as I charge it for the first round, first 5, 6, 7 rounds, it just not enough. There's just too much resistance, and it stops right here, and then I have to push this forward assist. Sometimes the forward assist doesn't even work. I'm pushing it and it's not, well, it does work, the forward assist does work, but the reason I have to use the forward assist is because of that bolt, in my opinion anyway. So I'm going to go back to Radical Firearms, and kind of see what they can do, because I think that's the issue, is the now I'll take it out again, and I think it is this bolt. I think that is the main issue here. So I think this, for whatever reason, is sticking out, because you see it's just rubbing really hard here, just a little too hard. I don't know if that's a pin issue, or seems like there's a pin right there. It's causing quite a bit of problems here, and it's rubbing and it's catching. When I put my finger over it, I could feel that it's probably going to catch and rub. Not too much on this side. Definitely something going on in here that's causing this to... It doesn't seem like it's very milled very good either. It's just... So anyways, it's just causing too much friction in here. And let me check this. I think that might be it right there. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just something that's just preventing. This might be the culprit right here, this little area where it's just rubbing against that metal, and every time it rubs, it just, that friction. And I know it gets really bad when it gets hot too. So that might be a thing here. So I'm not sure what's going on. You can see you could just see that it's not, there's something to here. It's just sticking out way too much, and then this is where it's rubbing. So anyways, I'll just take it back to Radical Firearms, and let's see what they have to say about this, because I think this is another issue here, another quality control. It seems like a different bolt carrier than the last manufacturer or whoever they were using, and I'm starting to think, you know, Radical Firearms doesn't really make any of this stuff. They just assemble this stuff. They just order the parts and pieces. So, and then you can see here, this has a lot of movement in it as well, and it's obviously rubbing against something up here. How's it? I'm not sure. It's just rubbing really hard. I'm not sure if the tolerances are not as tight or what the deal is. Pin back in again. Okay, there we go. So I think there's something to this bolt carrier because it's very sticky, very, very sticky. I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but it's more than this. This is not as sticky, and I never clean this, and this is just moves just fine. So this one's very, very tough. I might have to ask for a whole new bolt carrier because it's kind of a little too scratched up and it's moving around, so it's, I'm not sure what the issue with this really is. Anyways, that's my conclusion on the 7.5 inch upper piece here. Right now it's still not reliable. It's still unreliable. The first 70 rounds it'll work until it warms up, and that's when I notice the parts the bolts start to seize right about here, right before it locks in, and that's not good. It's not good. It's better, but the problem is when I need to reload, it won't feed. It's better because now there's nothing obstructing the feeding ramps, but it's still, I'm having issues with it. So I just got to take this back to Radical Firearms and kind of explain the situation again, and hopefully they can. Well, it is a lifetime warranty, so it's got to be fixed because right now in its current form and current condition, it's not very reliable. It's still, I would say, defective. From the looks of it, I mean, it sounds like it could work, but when you're out in the range, and I had 300 rounds, so I did shoot 300 rounds through this whole thing, and it did go through. Problem is, it wouldn't go through unless I only had about 7 rounds, and even on the 7th round, the resistance of the spring and taking this out of the magazine, because if you try it with your finger, you'll see there's some resistance. So there's enough resistance here and where the bolt is to finally just have it stop right about here. Right about here, right where the bolt is gonna go, right, lock into that chamber, stops right about here. And I let it go the first time, and I knew it wasn't catching, but I thought, well, you know, maybe it's just me. And I did that, and that's what I heard, click. I'm like, gosh, not again. So pulled it back again, same issue, pulled it back again, stop right there, took that out, pulled it again, cleared it, stop right there, pulled that one out, and I did that about 5 times. And when you know you do that 5 times, there's something wrong. There's just something wrong. You shouldn't do that 5 times in a row on a fully loaded on the 30 round, which this is the magazine they gave me. So there's something wrong here. And then on the 10 round, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, it would go through 4 before it would lighten up to the point where I guess it was easy enough to push that round through out of the magazine and into the chamber, and there was enough momentum to turn it. But because where the bolt is rubbing on that bolt carrier on the inside, it's just a full magazine slows it down enough where it just stops right here. And that's not good. So anyways, so I've identified that issue, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to Radical Firearms and you know, tell them the issue again and see if they're willing to replace that bolt now. I think they are. I think I got enough evidence here, I guess I could say, enough issues here where I can say, hey, I think it's a bolt carrier. You're going to have to give me a new bolt carrier because something's going on with that bolt carrier. It's seizing up. Something's going on with it. The pin is too tight. I'm not sure what it is on that bolt carrier or on the bolt. But compared to this, man, this is easy. And then you use that one, you could feel it's harder, and it's I guess it's enough to slow the momentum down to where I'm having those issues. So a lot of issues on the 7.5 round. I mean 7.5 inch, and I think all the models are using these different parts, which scares me, because if that's the case, it may not just be my, 7.5 inch. It may be the 16 inch. It may be the 10.5 inch. It may be the 20 inch, whatever rifles you got on the bolt carriers, because this is how they've. If these are the manufacturers that they're using, then there's got to be multiple issues here. So hopefully that's not the case. It's just a one-off, but you never know. Anyways, so let's give credit where credit's due. Radical Firearms. So, anyways, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna see what they can do. See if they can give me a new bolt carrier, because I think the bolt and maybe even the bolt carrier, I'm not even sure, could be the issue. I think it'd be just easier to just give me a whole new bolt carrier group here. Let me try that out and see if it works. All right. So that concludes this episode here. Whatever issue I figure out on the next, when I go back, I'll update you and see what happens. Until then, right now, I'm afraid this is defective, at least the bolt carrier. So if one part's defective, I guess, and prevents the firearm from operating, I guess the whole thing's defective in a way. So anyways, this concludes this episode. We'll see what happens next. I'm gonna show customer service what I think is the issue, because I explained to them the issue with the feeding ramp, and they just said, okay, we'll get you a new barrel. And they got me a new barrel. Has a new barrel, it's still having the same issue. Now it's probably the bolt, or even the whole bolt carrier. So we'll see. This concludes this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned.